Hey there, beautiful learners. I'm Aurora, and welcome back to English with Aurora, where we transform your English from classroom phrases into real, confident conversations that actually matter in your daily life. You know what? I was having coffee with my friend Sarah yesterday, and she told me something that broke my heart a little bit. She said, Aurora, I've been studying English for 3 years. I know all the grammar rules, I can write essays, but when I'm at Starbucks and the barista asks me a simple question, I freeze. I literally cannot speak. Does this sound familiar to you? Have you ever felt like you know English in your head, but when it comes to real conversations, your mind goes completely blank? Well, today I'm going to change that forever. I'm going to give you the exact phrases, the real expressions, and the confidence-building techniques that native speakers actually use in everyday situations. Here's the thing that most English teachers won't tell you. There's a massive difference between textbook English and real conversation English. And if you only learn one of them, you'll always feel like there's this invisible wall between you and fluent conversations. But by the end of today's lesson, you're going to have 25 phrases that will make you sound natural, confident, and genuinely conversational in English. Let's start with something that happens to all of us every single day, making small talk. You know, those little conversations that seem so simple but can actually make or break your confidence in English. Picture this. You're in an elevator with a colleague, or you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or maybe you're at a networking event. The silence feels awkward, and you want to say something friendly, but what comes out of your mouth sounds robotic and unnatural. Instead of saying, "How are you?" for the millionth time, try these phrases that native speakers actually use. How's your day going so far? This is beautiful because it's specific to the moment and invites a more detailed response than just, "Fine, thanks." Keeping busy. This is perfect when you see someone you know casually. It's friendly, not too personal, and easy to answer. What brings you here today? Use this in situations like coffee shops, events, or even waiting rooms. It's natural and shows genuine interest. Let me tell you a quick story about my student Maria. She used to be terrified of small talk. She would avoid eye contact and give one-word answers. But after practicing these phrases, something magical happened. She was at a company party, used keeping busy, with a manager she'd never spoken to before, and ended up having a 20-minute conversation that led to her getting involved in a new project. That's the power of natural English phrases. Now, let's talk about something that makes many English learners panic: asking for help or information. Whether you're traveling, shopping, or just trying to figure something out, you need to sound polite but confident. Here's what most people do wrong. They either sound too formal, like, "Excuse me, sir, would you be so kind as to provide me with directions?" Or too abrupt, like, "Where's the bathroom?" Neither of these feels natural. Try these instead. "Sorry to bother you, but could you help me with something?" This is perfect because it's polite, acknowledges that you're interrupting, but still confident. "I'm a bit lost. Could you point me in the right direction?" The phrase, "point me in the right direction," is so naturally English, and it works both literally for directions and figuratively for any kind of guidance. "Do you happen to know where I could find?" The phrase, "Do you happen to know," is incredibly useful because it makes your question sound less demanding and more collaborative. I remember when I was traveling in Tokyo, even though I was a native English speaker, I was the one asking for help in English from other tourists. I used these exact phrases, and people were so helpful and friendly. The key is that you sound approachable and grateful, not desperate or demanding. Let's move on to something super practical: handling misunderstandings. This is crucial because in real conversations, people don't always speak clearly, background noise exists, and sometimes you just need clarification. The biggest mistake I see is when students pretend they understand when they don't. Please don't do this. Native speakers ask for clarification all the time. Here's how to do it naturally. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat it? The phrase, didn't catch that, is much more natural than I didn't hear you. Could you say that again, but a bit slower? This is honest, and most people are happy to help. I'm not sure I follow. Could you explain that differently? Use this when you heard the words but didn't understand the meaning. Wait, let me make sure I understand. Are you saying that? This shows you're actively listening and want to get it right. Here's something beautiful that happened last month. My student Ahmed was in a meeting at work, and his manager was explaining a new project. Instead of nodding and pretending to understand, Ahmed said, "Wait, let me make sure I understand. Are you saying that we need to finish this by Friday or start it by Friday?" His manager was actually impressed that Ahmed asked for clarification, and it prevented a major misunderstanding. Asking for clarification isn't a weakness. It's a sign of good communication. Now, let's talk about expressing opinions in a way that sounds natural and confident, but not aggressive. This is especially important in work situations, social settings, or even when you're just chatting with friends. Many English learners either sound too weak with their opinions or too strong. They'll say something like, "Maybe I think," which sounds uncertain, or "You're wrong," which sounds rude. Here are phrases that strike the perfect balance. "I see it a bit differently." This acknowledges the other person's view while introducing your own. "That's an interesting point, but have you considered?" This is respectful but allows you to present an alternative view. "I'm not sure I agree with that because." This is direct but not confrontational. From my experience, this personalizes your opinion and makes it less threatening to others. Let me share a story about my student Lewis. He works in marketing, and during team meetings, he used to stay quiet because he was afraid his English wasn't good enough to contribute to discussions. After learning these phrases, he started sharing his ideas using "from my experience," and "I see it a bit differently." Not only did his confidence grow, but his manager started asking for his input more often because his contributions were valuable and well expressed. Speaking of work, let's dive into some phrases that will make you sound more professional and confident in business situations. These work whether you're in a formal meeting, a casual workplace chat, or even a job interview. Let me circle back to what you mentioned earlier about. This shows you're a good listener and helps you address specific points. "That's a great question. Let me think about that for a moment." This buys you time to formulate a good answer without sounding unprepared. Building on what Sarah said, this is perfect for meetings when you want to add to someone else's idea. "I'd like to touch base with you about." This is a natural way to initiate a conversation about work topics. Here's something that might surprise you. These phrases aren't just about sounding professional. They're about feeling professional. When you have the right language tools, you can focus on your ideas instead of worrying about how to express them. Now, let's switch gears and talk about social situations. You know, those moments when you're hanging out with friends, at parties, or just having casual conversations. The language here is more relaxed, but it still follows patterns that you can learn and use. "What have you been up to lately?" This is the perfect replacement for "what do you do?" It's more personal and engaging. "That sounds amazing. Tell me more about it." This shows enthusiasm and encourages the other person to continue sharing. "I've been meaning to try that." Use this when someone mentions a restaurant, activity, or experience that interests you. "We should definitely hang out soon." This is a natural way to express that you enjoy someone's company. One of my favorite student success stories involves these social phrases. Emma, who's from Brazil, was invited to her American colleague's birthday party. She was nervous about the social interaction outside of work, but she prepared by practicing these phrases. She ended up having such natural conversations that people were asking her how long she'd been living in the US, thinking she was much more advanced than she actually was. The secret wasn't perfect grammar. It was using phrases that native speakers naturally use. Let's talk about something that happens to everyone, dealing with awkward moments in conversation. Maybe you said something that didn't come out right, maybe there was a misunderstanding, or maybe you just need to change the subject gracefully. Let me rephrase that. Use this when you realize what you said wasn't clear. Actually, what I meant to say was, this helps you correct yourself naturally. Speaking of which, this is perfect for transitioning to a related topic. That reminds me, another great transition phrase that keeps the conversation flowing. These phrases are like social lubricants. They make conversations smoother and more natural. Native speakers use them constantly, often without even realizing it. Now, here's something really practical: phone conversations. I know, phone calls in English can be terrifying. You don't have body language or facial expressions to help you understand, and the connection might not always be perfect. But with the right phrases, you can handle phone calls like a pro. Hi, this is Aurora calling about. Start with your name and the purpose of your call. Is this a good time to talk? This shows respect for the other person's time. I'm calling to follow up on. Perfect for business calls. Could you speak up a bit? The connection isn't great on my end. This handles technical issues politely. Let me just confirm that. Use this to make sure you understood important information correctly. I had a student, Yuki, who was so afraid of phone calls that she would email for everything, even when a quick phone call would be more efficient. After practicing these phrases, she realized that phone calls were actually easier than she thought because the structure is so predictable. Now she prefers calling because it's faster and more personal. Let's talk about something that's becoming more and more important: virtual meetings and video calls. Whether it's for work, online classes, or even social video chats with friends, there are specific phrases that make you sound tech-savvy and professional. Can everyone see my screen okay? Use this when you're sharing your screen. Sorry, I was on mute there. We've all been there, right? The connection seems a bit choppy on my end. This explains technical difficulties professionally. Let me share my screen so everyone can see this, clear and direct. I'll send the recording to everyone after the meeting. Shows you're organized and considerate. These might seem simple, but they make a huge difference in how comfortable and professional you sound in virtual settings. Now, let's dive into something really fun: expressing enthusiasm and excitement naturally. Many English learners struggle with this because they either sound flat and uninterested, or they overdo it and sound fake. That's fantastic. Use this for big news or achievements. I'm so excited about this. Natural way to express genuine enthusiasm. This is exactly what I was looking for. Perfect for shopping, job hunting, or finding solutions. I can't wait to try this. Shows anticipation and enthusiasm. This made my day. Use when something nice happens, big or small. The key to using these phrases authentically is matching your tone to your words. Practice saying them out loud with genuine emotion. Your voice should go up slightly, and you should sound like you really mean it. Let me tell you about David, one of my students from Germany. He's naturally a quiet, reserved person, but in English, he sounded almost robotic because he was so focused on getting the grammar right. When he learned to use these enthusiasm phrases naturally, his whole personality came through in English. His colleagues started inviting him to more social events because he seemed more approachable and engaging. Here's something crucial that most English courses skip: how to end conversations gracefully. You know that awkward moment when you want to leave a conversation but don't know how to do it politely? These phrases will save you. It was really great talking with you. This works in almost any situation. I don't want to keep you, but it was lovely seeing you. This acknowledges that both of you have other things to do. We should definitely continue this conversation soon. Use this for interesting conversations you want to revisit. I should probably head out, but thanks for the great conversation. Perfect for parties or social events. Let's touch base again next week. Great for work or business contexts. The secret to ending conversations well is to express genuine appreciation for the interaction while clearly indicating that it's time to go. Now, let's talk about something that's absolutely essential for real conversations: showing interest in what other people are saying. This isn't just about being polite, it's about creating connections and making conversations flow naturally. That's really interesting. How did you get into that? Shows curiosity about their interests or career. Wow, that must have been quite an experience. Acknowledges something significant they shared. I've never thought about it that way before. Shows they've given you a new perspective. That sounds challenging. How did you handle it? Perfect for when someone shares a difficult situation. These phrases do something magical. They make the other person feel heard and valued, which makes them want to continue the conversation with you. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. My student Anna was at a company networking event. Instead of just talking about herself, she used these phrases to show interest in others. She met a manager from another department who was talking about a project challenge. Anna said, "That sounds challenging. How did you handle it?" This led to a deep conversation about problem-solving approaches, and the manager was so impressed with Anna's thoughtful questions that he offered her an opportunity to work on an interdepartmental project. Let's address something that many of you have asked about: how to sound more natural and less formal. Sometimes English learners sound too much like textbooks and not enough like real people. Here are some phrases that will immediately make you sound more conversational. Instead of "I am very busy," say, "I've got a lot on my plate right now." Instead of "That is very difficult," say, "That's pretty tough." Instead of "I do not understand," say, "I'm not getting it," or "It's not clicking for me." Instead of "I am very tired," say, "I'm exhausted," or "I'm wiped out." These aren't slang. They're just more natural expressions that native speakers use in everyday conversation. Now, here's something really powerful: phrases for building rapport and connection with people. These work whether you're meeting someone for the first time or deepening existing relationships. I know exactly what you mean. Use this when you can relate to their experience. You're absolutely right about that. Shows agreement and validation. I've been in a similar situation. Creates connection through shared experiences. That makes perfect sense. Shows you understand their reasoning. These phrases create what I call conversation bridges. They connect your experience to theirs and make the interaction feel more personal and meaningful. Let me share one more student story because this is so important. Carlos from Mexico was working in an American company and felt like he was always on the outside of workplace conversations. People were friendly, but he never felt truly included. When he started using these rapport-building phrases, something shifted. Instead of just giving information, he was creating connections. Within a month, he was being invited to lunch groups and after-work activities. The change wasn't in his English grammar. It was in his ability to connect with people through language. Before we wrap up, let's talk about phrases that show confidence without arrogance. This is a delicate balance, but it's so important for your personal and professional success. "I'm confident that we can figure this out" shows leadership and optimism. "I have some ideas about how to approach this" offers contribution without being pushy. "Based on what I've seen, I think" shows you're observant and analytical. "I'm comfortable taking the lead on this" expresses willingness to take responsibility. These phrases position you as someone who's capable and reliable, which are qualities that people respect and value. Here's what I want you to understand. Every single phrase I've shared today is used by native speakers regularly. These aren't advanced or fancy expressions. They're the building blocks of natural English conversation. The difference between sounding like a textbook and sounding like a real person often comes down to using these kinds of natural phrases. Now, I want to give you a challenge, but it's going to be fun, I promise. Pick 5 phrases from today's lesson that feel most relevant to your life right now. Maybe you need the small talk phrases for your job, or the enthusiasm phrases to express yourself better, or the clarification phrases to handle misunderstandings. Whatever resonates with you, pick 5 phrases. Here's your challenge. Use each of these 5 phrases at least once in the next week. Not in forced ways, but naturally, when the situations arise. Keep a little note on your phone about which phrases you want to practice, and when you use one, check it off. You know what's going to happen? You're going to discover that conversations in English become easier and more natural. You'll find yourself feeling more confident because you have the right tools for different situations. And people will respond to you differently because you'll sound more like someone they can easily talk to and connect with. But here's the most important thing I want you to remember. Becoming fluent in conversation, English isn't about memorizing thousands of phrases. It's about understanding the patterns, feeling comfortable with natural expressions, and having the confidence to engage authentically with others. Every phrase you learn, every conversation you practice, every small improvement you make is building something bigger. You're not just learning English, you're developing the ability to connect with people, share your ideas, and be truly understood in one of the world's most important languages. I've seen it happen over and over again with my students. The moment they start using natural, conversational phrases like the ones we practice today, everything changes. Their confidence grows, their opportunities expand, and their relationships deepen. This isn't just about language learning, it's about life transformation. So keep practicing, keep trying, and keep believing in yourself. You have something valuable to say, and now you have more tools to say it naturally and confidently. Remember, every native speaker was once learning how to communicate too. The only difference is practice and persistence. I'm so proud of you for investing this time in your English journey. Until next time, keep speaking, keep growing, and keep shining. This is Aurora, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll dive even deeper into the beautiful world of English conversation. Take care and remember, you've got this.